I'm making Mamounieh. It's a hot wheat cereal that we make for breakfast that's made with toasted wheat or semolina. And I take a little bit of cinnamon, and there we have it. It's made with toasted cream of wheat, farina, or semolina. The recipe is 1 cup of the wheat to 6 cups of water. The difference is semolina is a finer wheat, finer grain. Farina is the next finest, and then the cream of wheat is a coarser grain. It can also be made with cream of rice. The recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar. It's a little too sweet for our taste, and you can adjust it. I usually put in a little more than 3/4 of a cup, and it works out good. I've got the 6 cups of water on the burner. It's on high. I'm going to add my sugar, and I'm going to stir it in to dissolve. And then you want to bring that to a boil. While that's happening, I've got a little piece of butter in the pan, letting it melt. I'm pouring my cup of cream of wheat in the pan. And now I'm going to stir it and toast the cream of wheat. There's like a reaction here. When you toast it, it makes the cream of wheat taste completely different than if you were just making the recipe on the box. So I'm toasting it to a light brown. Might take 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes longer. That little bit of butter helps it to brown a little quicker, moistens it a little bit. You don't need much butter, just that little, maybe half a teaspoon. And continuing to stir it until it gets to a nice toasty brown. Okay, the wheat is all toasted now. Because I'm going to use the pan again, I'm going to put the wheat into a little bowl. And then I'm going to put butter and brown the cinnoba, the pine nuts. There we go. It's all ready to go. Now I'm going to have that half a stick of butter. This is again to your own taste. You can put more or less, it's up to you. But it really makes a very nice dish when you pour this over the top. I'm going to add the pine nuts. You can add as many or as little as you wish. I start with about a half a cup. And then I'm going to brown them, but you have to watch. Again, as I heat the butter, it's going to change the flavor of the butter. It doesn't really become McGee, but it does change the taste. You can't leave the pine nuts on the burner because they will turn real brown real quick. You can see the butter is starting to foam up. That's what we want. And again, watch that you're not burning the nuts. You want them a little toasty, then they have a good flavor. In the beginning, I told you we're making a hot wheat cereal, and we call it Mamounieh. So most of our family and other families know what Mamounieh is because their grandmothers and mothers and other family members made it quite frequently. It used to be our Sunday dish. We would have Mamounieh with Syrian cheese, string cheese, and bread. Sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on it, and it's delicious. Now you see how the butter foamed up? And turn the burner off. The pine nuts are just a little bit brown. The nuts are slightly browned. You don't want them real dark. I notice the water is boiling, so I'm going to take this off the burner so they don't continue to cook. You want the foamy butter because you'll see when I finish what I'm going to do with the butter. The water is starting to boil. I like it to come to a pretty rapid boil before I pour in the cream of wheat. When you do pour in the cream of wheat, you got to continually keep stirring. Otherwise it'll get clumpy and make lumps. I've got the cream of wheat. It's pretty good to boil. As long as I keep stirring as I pour, you pour a little bit at a time and you keep stirring as you pour. That way you won't get any of the lumps. Now you'll continue to cook it till it thickens a little bit. I'm going to lower the burner to medium and continue stirring until I feel it's thick enough. See, it's pretty watery yet, too thin. But as it cooks, the wheat will absorb a lot of the water and it will thicken. And some of the water will evaporate. You can cook it for as long as you like. Some people like it thin. Not that thin, but they like it thin. Some people like it thicker. As this cools, it will thicken as it sits. You can see it starts to boil again. And you want that because you want to thicken it somewhat. You can see how thin it is and how there's no lumps. When you pour the wheat in too fast, it'll get real lumpy, and especially if the water isn't hot enough. See, some people like it that thin. As it cools down, it will thicken more. When it gets cold, you can slice it with a knife, but it still tastes delicious. There, you see the little boil there? So it's getting rid of some of the water. It's almost to the thickness that I like. Because if you don't serve it immediately, it does thicken a little bit. If you have leftovers, that's no problem. It'll get real thick. You just spoon it into a dish, microwave it a little bit, and you're ready to go. It's delicious. A little more cinnamon and you have another dish for the next day. Okay, it's about the thickness that I like it. I'm going to turn the burner off. See how hard it's boiling now? So now it's time to pour it into the bowl because it will thicken. Got a nice big bowl here. Nice thickness. Now, to know what we did with the butter and the pine nuts. You don't mix the pine nuts into it. I put it on top and I just kind of pour the butter over the top. You don't want to mix it in. You want it to kind of marble over the top. Much different than just plain cream of wheat. There we go. And all I'm going to do is kind of maneuver it in. Then I'll take the pine nuts and sprinkle them over the top. We like a lot of pine nuts on it. So I know they're expensive, but it's well worth using them for this dish. There we have it, your bowl of Mamounieh, or hot toasted wheat cereal. I like to serve it with warm pita bread, and you can butter it if you wish. You don't have to butter the bread, but it sure tastes good with hot buttered bread. I'm going to spoon a serving, and I take from the side so that I get some of the nuts. And not go in and stir the whole thing because you want everybody to enjoy that butter. And I take a little bit of cinnamon. Everybody likes it with cinnamon on it. That's an option. You can put cinnamon or not. And sometimes you can take the string cheese and put it right in the Mamounieh, and it melts and it just gets real creamy and tastes delicious. That was our Sunday breakfast. Enjoy.